Have a lot of people seen this definition before? I was drunk on my ass on fucking vodka the first time I saw it, and I was laughing even harder because I'm like, holy shit, they know me. They know all of us. So. Technically, I'm not supposed to start for 3 more minutes, so I'll probably start early. I don't do well with like normal structured speaking. You know, I'll have slides that are up there that have a lot of shit on. If you want to read it while I'm talking, fine. I'm not going to read it to you. I put reference material in my slides. You know, normally you tell people what you're going to tell them. You tell them it, then you give them a summary. Yeah, I don't do that shit either. It's just kind of like a brain dump format. This thing's kind of front-loaded. For me, it's been a real long time since I've been dating, but like when you're on a date and you really just want to get fucking laid, but you know, like you're nice and act like you're interested in stuff. Well, so the content where I'm actually trying to make some points is up front, and then it gets into more of a rant as I get going. Don't know how ranty it will get or not. I do know I almost threw my fucking computer into a wall several times while making the slides because it would just pissed me off when I realized how much absolute fucking shit hasn't changed since the year 2000 in InfoSec. So I've been doing InfoSec since around 99. That's my intro. Name's Derek. Those letters bug some people. Don't give a shit if it bugs you. Don't give a shit if it don't. I got the fucking certs. I might as well put them on there. Sometimes it helps me get a job or bill. It was a test. It's not really hard to take a fucking test, right? If you can learn how to do stuff in a packet sniffer, you can learn how to take a fucking test. So, basically, this is talking about failing in InfoSec. I think I have another slide I put up for about this. These views are mine only, not on behalf of my company. Had to put this second bullet point in because I actually got some feedback on a talk where someone thought I was talking like I was some smart dude that never fucked up and like I'm smarter than everybody else. Okay, some of these mistakes I've made, you ever get told don't make the same mistake twice? Anyone heard that? Yeah, fuck that. I've made the same mistake 3 times sometimes at 2 different companies. Okay, shit happens. This whole, oh, you're stupid if you make the same mistake twice. There's your same fucking mistake once and twice, right? So what I did is I said, let me just talk about shit. Lessons learned the hard way. Some I've learned by watching other people do shit the hard way, which is always more fun because you're watching someone else's life be miserable and yours isn't. You're getting enjoyment out of it. Unfortunately, a lot of these were dumb shit I did. So, also sometimes there's typos in the slides. I don't care. I write them sober. I review them on Jaeger, except, 50th birthday present, pre-diabetic. Motherfucking vodka and soda water with a little bit of lime juice, no more Jaeger. Now to mix it up, I do shots of tequila. If there's typos, because it's tequila, not Jaeger. So, firewalling, biggest screw-ups. Been seeing this since the early 2000s. You'll hear it over and over again. Egress filtering. Sometimes it's important what's going out. Why do you let everything in the world go out? And you've already heard in a lot of other talks, and you can see all kinds of stuff on the internet about, you know, people exfiltrating versus DNS, stuff like that. Why do you need DNS open from your workstations out, make them hit your DNS servers and let them go out? Basically, in a nutshell, egress filtering. People need to do it. They still don't a lot, right? People don't validate their firewalls. Everyone knows what Nmap is? It's like a port scanner, okay? Honestly, my dog could use this thing. It's that easy. So you can actually take Nmap and run, and even you could just use the Nmap top 1000 and check to make sure your firewalls are not open where you don't think they are. So, and then you might want to do, sometimes people have these tools. I don't mention tools names in my talks. I hate them all equally and love them all equally and use whatever fits in a given environment. So I'm like platform agnostic. Tool agnostic. It's more about the processes, people, the techniques, and then you figure out what tools work best in your environment. Because I've used some tools in some environments, and they worked great, went to another environment, and the same tool fails spectacularly. Some of these tools will actually analyze your policies and let you know if there's stuff that you can see stuff that maybe shouldn't be open. Some of them will let you set up alerting. If you have like 5 rules you really give a shit about for a certain security zone, if someone changes that rule, you can actually get a text. Well, God, that's old, isn't it? An email, whatever. You can get it to your phone, right? Firewall rule sets without documentation in the rules. Put the change number in the comments, if nothing else, if you have a change control system. So you can figure out why the hell you put it there. Because you're going to wonder, and sometimes you're going to change rules because you didn't think you needed it anymore and you didn't have documentation on why it was there, and then you're going to cut shit out and have a Sev 1. So been there, done that. You need to document the rules. Sometimes it's as easy as just document the change controls better. If you're a big enough structured company with change control systems, put the stuff in there. The one I bitch at and pick fights with over people a lot, firewalling down to the exact IP port and protocol. What the fuck? You got a backup server. It needs to back up all your servers. Make sure the backup server, harden the shit out of it. Put that in your first patch group. Make the firewall rule that lets the backup server get to all the VLANs in your damn data center. Why would you enter a change control every time you put a server on and off the network if you're not the NSA? If you got to make profits, you can do service type based firewall rulings. Certain things, you know, all the servers need to talk to certain other groups of servers like backup patch management. Put in one rule for all your VLANs in your data centers. Be done with it. Instead of firewalling shit to the nth degree, which makes even bigger rule sets, which we all have anyway, and it makes it impossible to track. Anti-malware. Let's see. Anyone running stuff like semantic and stuff in their environment? If you turn on the heuristics, it actually does more than you think. A lot of people don't. I have no clue why they don't. The pattern, myth, stupidity. So it comes down to pattern-based protection is worthless. That's just stupid to say. People that say that, it's just fucking stupid, sorry. Pattern-based shit gets a lot of stuff out of your environment, all the stuff that's known. It stops that from happening. Saves you a lot of money. Users click on known shit. It's not always 0 days and shit that are getting your company. There's a lot of known bad things that these companies have patterns for that it keeps the workstations clean from. It's not a complete waste of time. That goes back to the whole defense in depth thing, which I don't know if I'll even bitch much on, but again, defense in depth is a concept that's been around since like the 90s. It is valid, so it really bugs me when people bitch about that one too. It's just like dumb. And again, with anti-malware, do you do daily care and feeding of your endpoints? In other words, people forget that they have to actually keep an eye on this shit, right? You might want to get logs out of it and consume the logs and see what's going on. Instead, if you think you're going to set and forget anything, it's not going to happen. Technology doesn't work that well. None of it does. And then the other one is, do you guys know what you can consume indicators of compromise, how they are consumed in your product? So there's people that run stuff like semantic and trend in these other products, and they don't realize they can actually consume signatures written in other languages into their product. If you have indicators of compromise, even if they're day-old donuts from the federales, which, you know, turn into just more signatures, do you have a way of consuming them? A lot of people don't look into that, so they're not even leveraging their endpoint protection. I've seen people implement more advanced endpoint technologies. They didn't even have heuristics turned on and didn't know how to consume IOCs in their current product. So, again, before you do advanced endpoint, are you using your AV fully? And again, no matter what you do advanced at the endpoint, you're going to have to write new shit to see some of the new attack techniques. That was brought up in some of the talks yesterday. So you might want to have that in mind when you're doing that. That's going to cause you additional staff. You're going to have staff for hunting and tuning. In corporate America, it's hard to get the money to get people to run the tools. I know that, but it used to actually be once upon a time when it was hard to get the damn tools themselves. But you really do need people to run the tools. You need time to tune them. A lot of people forget about that. And the other one is, you know, I'm pretty honest. I actually did a vendor gig once. So I was actually an SE, so I didn't have to lie to people. But vendors will always tell you how easy their solution is. They're always full of shit. None of their shit implements easy. None of their shit integrates easy. And all of their shit requires more care and feeding than they're telling you. Always. Correct. I'm just telling you, that's what I've seen for 20 fucking years. Pick your vertical, technology, whatever. Vulnerability management, kind of tied to patch management. Interestingly enough, I've been bitching at everyone around, including people I work with, how we suck at the basics. Harden your shit, patch your shit, scan your shit to make sure you're hardening your shit, and patch your shit. Equifax. Not going to make light of it because it was a shitty day for them, but the reality is, what's some of the biggest hacks from? Patching, because patching's hard. The basics are hard. They're not called the basics because they're easy. They're called the basics because they're table stakes to get into the fucking game. They're not easy. They take people. They take time. They take care and feeding. They're more about the people in the process than the technology to do the damn job. And that includes vulnerability management. I know this because I've used every fucking tool on the market in different environments, right? So, biggest ones, you don't train other teams. How many people run vulnerability scans? How many people's Unix and Windows administrators know how to interpret the scan results for themselves? How many people have administrators logging into those systems to get their own goddamn results and fix their shit because you've trained them how to harden their systems? That's the basics. Helps you make your security team bigger when you get people helping you on other platforms. They should at least know what the scans do and don't do. Do your network people know what the scans will do to the network and what it won't? Have you proven it to them? Have you talked to them? Have you explained to them how the shit works? Have you explained to them the fact your people that run the hosts, that most polite commercial scanners, they close the connection with the reset when they're done so they don't starve resources anymore? It ain't the fucking 90s. They should know, right? No process for when you destroy shit. You scan enough stuff, you're going to crash some things. Do you have a process to handle it? I do. I send them an email right away. Here's the first 5 things we do. We're going to do this. Look, was it a service reboot that needed to do it, or the whole host need to be rebooted? Did you troubleshoot to find that out? What's the exact date, time, and where was the scan at when it was running? Do we need to get a trace file run of when the scan is running? Do we need to get with the vendor, etc.? Have all that shit docked out ahead of time. Another one people do is they start too small or too big. They run a scan of the whole environment, see all the red, and freak out. If you have Microsoft in your environment, you're going to have a shit ton of red. You got to patch every month, but you're always going to be a month behind because you can't patch the minute it comes out if you're in a large enterprise. You're always going to have a bunch of red. What red do you want to look for? Maybe you want to look for blank admin passwords the first run because you already know where your patching's at because you can get the patch reporting from your patch management tool, right? The PDF thing. Yeah, hand a sysadmin a 500-page PDF. Hold your breath while you wait for him to fix this shit. Give me a break. Give them targets. Put on these 5 patches this month, please. Break it down for them. People don't do math. They don't realize how long it's going to take to scan their environment. That's really what that comes down to. You do baseline scanning first to see how long scans take, because sometimes you have to scan in change windows, which is the next biggest fuck up of all I see. You can scan the servers when we're doing maintenance Sunday night. When you're doing maintenance, you're rebooting the servers. I can't scan them then. Give me a break. You need a scan window where they're not doing shit, or doing as little shit as possible. Scan remote sites during the day, which means if you have servers in the remote sites, you scan them during the day. The rest you probably scan at night. How often should you scan your internet? Anybody could be scanning it right now. You should be at least able to justify weekly internet scans, right? And then the prioritization, taking longer than fixing. I've seen entire talks debating CVSS versus Metasploit. If it's in Metasploit, fix it first. Well, it's got a CVSS base of 8 or 10. How about this? All the commercial vendors have people they pay to build their knowledge bases behind the product. And they usually go on a scale of 5's bad, 4 not as bad, 3 whatever. Start with the fucking 5's. Stop debating this shit all day. Good enough? Blank admin passwords are a 5. Don't give a shit what the CVSS score is, right? Make it easy. I actually wrote my own definition of vulnerability management a long time ago because this is all the shit your vulnerability management tool can do and you don't know it, probably. You can do governance for patch management, discover misconfigured or systems you didn't know about, actually vulnerabilities in some of your applications. It does some client software. Some of the scanners will pick up what's wrong with them, helps you prioritize, discover rogue. It's good for doing reports. Did you guys know you can do IOC hunting? With most scanning tools, you can script in. Some of them support oval checks. You might be looking for that one indicator that's very relevant to your environment. Do you know that if you harden your systems with a GPO and you build in a custom regedit key to write, you can put an oval check in looking for that reg key because the chance of someone subverting that is pretty small in the grand scheme of things with like 5,000 servers, and you can see what shit's hardened to your standard and not without spending the money for another whiz-bang product that checks all the compliance according to your hardening template. Just harden your shit right. GPO, scripts for Unix, whatever, write the stuff somewhere and look for it this way. Might fit your budget better. So that's all the kinds of things that vulnerability management can do. Patch management, love this one. You know, what exceptions? We're not going to have any. Yeah, the hell you're not. Learn how to handle exceptions. They're going to happen. How do I find a company's most valuable systems? They're the ones that are patched the least. That's how I plan DR for a company when I'm doing a DR analysis. When I do NIST assessments, I don't just do the geeky stuff, I do the boring ass, risk-based shit. Well, it's actually more cost. It helps you spend your money better, but what the systems that no one ever lets you touch are the ones that mean the most to the company. So, if you're in an environment and you have a group of systems, like Unix systems, and you can figure out, deep enough in the environment, you can profile systems. If you can't get nothing out of the naming convention, which you usually will anyway, the servers with the most uptime is probably where all the valuable shit is, because they don't get to touch them, right? You also need to have an out-of-band process. How many people have deployed emergency patches in the past year? We did one for a couple of years ago for Heartbleed, but a lot of the things going on now, they don't hit our profile for even deploying outside the normal 30-day or 40-day patch window. So if you're going to tell people to drop everything they're doing, quit being Chicken Little every time something hits the news or you get a freaking pretty logo for an exploit. Start asking questions. Is the patch list as critical by the vendor? That might have compliance impacts. PCI. Anyone live that nightmare life? Yeah, I'm a recovering QSA. I still drink because of that shit, and it's been a couple years. Is a vendor cert saying to recommend immediate patching? Probably are. Significant portion of the servers or workstations vulnerable. Does it lead to remote code? Could you have other ways to mitigate it? Is it actively being exploited in the wild? That's why you keep your eye on Twitter correctly. Multiple versions of your stuff affected. What makes you tell the other teams, go patch this shit immediately? See, we give them a score with criteria similar to this. So we're telling them why. And then we don't get guffed. And oh, by the way, when you do this, I've pulled the trigger on out-of-band patches maybe 3 times in 3 years. Because when I really look at it from a risk perspective and say, what the hell is this thing and what does it really mean and to what parts of the company, I end up not panicking everyone every time there's a damn headline. Right? And guess what? That gets you credibility and they listen to you more. Now they actually ask me what the score is that it came out. Is this one even going to hit on the scoring? No. Hardening. Everyone knows about the Center for Internet Security checklists. I'm going to assume if not, you'll want to look into those. They do hardening guides. If you implement everything in one of those checklists on any given box, you'll destroy it. It probably won't work for production. You got to customize it. Biggest problem with people? Anyone hear this thing? Hey, if it's a security setting, it should be enabled. Why? Why would you just turn on every security setting when you don't know whether or not you really need it in your environment? So in the old days, people used to say that and then they would break Microsoft clusters because they needed NetBIOS between the 2 members of a cluster. It's like, don't just go blindly doing shit because a checklist told you, right? Everyone know what an MVP is? Minimal viable product. You want to know how to harden 5,000 servers when that's what you're hired to do and get it in place? You do version 1 of the hardening. You put in the basic hardening that costs the board that you know doesn't break shit. And part of that hardening is getting auditing going right so you can actually do forensics if you need to. Go with a version 1, then a version 1.1, then a version 1.2. This whole chasing absolute fucking perfection and addressing every edge case on everything you do is nothing but it's just a crock of shit. MVPs, iterations. Stuff changes, start slow, work your way up, right? And here's the other one too. Not testing. There used to be a regedit that was on the CIS checklist, and it said to limit I forget the name of it now. It was a TCP stack hardening parameter. That what it actually did is made, if you were going from one VLAN to another, just a VLAN, it would triple the packets sent. Because it said if you're going to any other network than the segment you're on, chop up your packets and split your packet size like by 1/3. So you'd actually send more packets on the network. If you did actual testing before you implemented your hardening, you'd know that. Some people were having a crap ton of traffic because they'd hardened a bunch of servers, and it's like, because it's actually making everything use 3 times as much packets. Then another one, not applying real-world sysadmin perspectives. If a session's disconnected, kill it after 15 minutes. Heaven forbid you should let shit hang for a full day so administrators can run scripts. Because that's what's going to get you. That one setting on certain servers deep in your network is what's going to get you hacked. Give me a fucking break. Put some reality in for the people that use the systems, right? You got to account for that. Oh, that's where it's good if you grew up as a sysadmin. Before you get into security, I did grow up as a sysadmin, so I actually brought that perspective with. I was calling bullshit on people, like on these kind of settings, to the people that write the checklists. Be polite. They'll get really mad at you. The other thing, if you're ever on a project working on hardening guides, and you're working with people with the government, and you tell them, hey man, I gotta make profit, I can't do that crazy shit, they'll get really mad at you and offended very quickly. Apparently they can just shut anything down they want to. That's what you look like to people. This is my number one example because everyone seems to do this for Oracle. Here's a PDF, harden Oracle. Turn your TNS listener off. What the hell? If you don't know what you're talking about, shut your mouth. Right? If you're going to tell someone to harden something and you don't really know what all of it means, you ought not to be telling them that. And if you're going to hand them a PDF that's probably going to make them do things that shut their stuff down, what the hell good are you doing? Right? Just, if you can't address it, then let that one go for now. Worry about database hardening after you've had a chance to study what a database is, how it works, and how you harden it. Intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, right? Interesting, a lot of environments I've gone in where they don't have IPS inline on their third-party connections and VPNs, which is usually where I would start. They've got IPS at all kinds of interesting places. I'm like, where's all your third-party site-to-site VPNs come in? Over there. Where's your IPS? Over there. Cool. How many users you got? Well, we got like 2,000 people VPN'd in at any time. Where's your IPS? Over there. Where are they coming at the network? Over there. Right? Biggest mistake. In the old days, email blocking could be fun because email queues, and if you had certain rules fire for lack of RFCs, especially in the Microsoft world, it would get more than one email message, and they'd be randomly missing, so it was a bitch to troubleshoot. So I'm always still careful with that. People know what a network tap is? Yeah, you don't use mirror ports. We stopped using mirror ports around 99, 2000, about when Snort was getting popular. People use mirror ports for troubleshooting shit. You tap into the network, so you got a dedicated way to see all the packets, or you're going inline. Which leads to the next one. Anybody have a vendor tell them their failover works, their appliance turns into a wire? Awesome. If you're in a high availability network, I got 2 appliances, this thing turns into a wire. First of all, it's usually fucking not going to do that. Let's just say it does. It worked. Hey, a sales guy didn't lie to you. Wow. So, it turns into a wire. Fine. Good. I need 5 nines uptime. Rack the new one. Pull the shit out. Put the new one in. How's that going to work for you? Might want to buy external bypasses, no matter how good they say the shit built into their product is. Obviously, not knowing network layouts one I hit already. And again, tuning and maintenance. Nothing is low maintenance in our world, including the people. Ask a manager, which I'm not. I actually played manager once for a very short period of time, ran away screaming, no way in hell. Why do I want to make less money for more bullshit? Because senior techies will start making as much money as a lot of the management people for a lot less bullshit. Web app firewalls. Again, everyone thinks they have time to tune it. Another one I see, common one, oh, we don't need web hacking knowledge. Bullshit. If you don't know how to hack web apps and you think you're going to implement a WAF, you're fooling yourself. You'll implement part of it in a somewhat half-assed fashion. Crawl through the entire config. Sometimes you're not blocking at all the levels on a website that you think you are inside of WAFs. Just a heads up. Don't give a shit what product it is. They're all like that. How do you create and maintain exceptions that you're going to have? Because let me tell you something. Anybody have an application that doesn't violate RFCs in their environment? Yeah, me neither. Never have. 20 years. And then again, anyone ever really actually pull the plug and test their failover? If you're going to go in line with your WAFs, you might want to. By the way, most WAFs really suck to work with. Just saying. Whips! Yeah, okay, nice. Are you providing coverage everywhere that you have wireless? Do you know everywhere you have wireless? Did you do the surveys ahead of time? Right? Do you know how much time it's going to take to respond to the alerts there and figure out getting other WIPs and other Wi-Fis that aren't supposed to be there off your network? Right? As always, you're getting the common theme. People don't assume the time it takes to run this shit. Why the hell people ever thought that a lot of this stuff would be easy to run and not need care and feeding all the time is beyond me. But there's not been one product I've seen ever that I can just leave alone and let it run and do its thing. And when I have thought that, I've always gotten burned later because I found out I really wasn't keeping an eye on it enough and it didn't show up until there was some kind of catastrophic failure. There you go. You know everything you need to know about DLP. I actually go way back to when VON 2 was first released. Before VON 2, we were using Juniper IDP, IDSs, with regex, catching cool shit, saying, wow, we can see when people are sending out social security numbers as long as it's not encrypted to, Gmail or something. It's kind of cool. And they're like, oh, why are we wasting our time on this? We got this VON 2 stuff. They kind of started this industry in a way. Yeah, DLP is more of a business issue, not a technical issue. Also, does anyone know what DLP stands for? Data loss prevention? Yeah, no. It stands for inadvertent data loss prevention. Because anyone that really wants to steal shit is going to walk out without a fucking thumb drive and that ain't going to see it. It's going to be the one you don't have an agent on. People really want to steal your shit really bad. They might take screenshots of it literally. It stops inadvertent data theft. Do not be stupid enough to tell your leadership that it stops data theft. It doesn't. Don't sell it wrong. It ain't worth shit for that. Sorry. It's good for catching policy violations, and it might catch people doing shit they shouldn't, and you can correct them if the implementation is in the business where the managers are checking their people that shouldn't be sending out customer information. You've got to integrate this so deep into the business, good luck with that. This is not really much of an InfoSec thing. It's more of getting it deep into the business, not even in IT. Right? And people typically don't even get some of the tooling like the vuln management moved into IT. So it is definitely more of a business issue. And there is a few different areas. Data in use, data in motion, data at rest. Remember that. It'll come in handy. Think about all the different perspectives. And just out of curiosity, everyone know where's the majority of the useful information in the world is stored? Excel. That's where everything people really want to steal ends up, in Excel on your endpoints. Cool. Good luck with your DLP. Log management. First, you might want to know what you want to manage. Sounds easy, but people don't do it. What are you looking for? What level are you going to try to get into? Are you going to try to find lateral movement with it? What's your use cases? You're going to try to do geolocation? I've had people where they have super buildings where if someone logs in but they're not in this building, we want to know about it. Stuff like that. What are your different use cases? Think about what you want to get out of it before you put any work into it. Right? And then understand, this is what kills me about all these genres, log management, big data, all these analytics, user behavior, whatever the fuck, right? You got to get the damn logs in there, which means you got to know what audit settings to set. You got to make sure they're set and set correctly, and you're going to be changing integrations. When you do anything custom, you're going to be changing it every time the version that you're integrating with changes. You know how much shit you got in an environment? You ever try to get DNS logs, DHCP logs from Microsoft? Right? Now add your fucking web logs. Add custom application logs. Maybe they'll be lucky to pipe it to syslog for you. By the way, everyone have a standard for your in-house applications. Tell them when you do logging, I want these 5 fields, pipe it to syslog, make my life easier. You have a standard for log management that says, hey, if you're writing a Windows-based application, put it in the Windows security log. Here's what I want to see. Get ahead of it. Otherwise, everything's a fucking custom integration. Gets old quick. Right? So, yeah. Oh, by the way, I had to put this in here. Any SIM vendors in the room? Feel free to get pissed off, okay? Yeah, tuning's more than a month. It's a lot fucking more than a month. Newsflash. Licensing. Costs money to license it. You burn a lot of disk space, events per second. Remember that. Licensing costs, DASD, EPS. That's your life. So again, do you have load balance for your collectors sometimes? You need that, might come in handy when shit goes wrong in the environment. I don't know why anybody still collects through WMI. For Windows, grabbing event logs through WMI is really shitty. Okay, it's just not efficient, but people used to do it, and then you have to do a manual failover is the answer there. But where are you going to put your collectors? You're going to do any backups or replication to keep your data because you have to for compliance reasons, stuff like that. Sizing for peak loads, what platforms you want to run. Are you going to have to offload to a separate server to run queries no matter what the team's telling you that's giving you the solution? Things to keep in mind. Again, this whole talk is just stuff that I've seen go wrong, stuff that I've done wrong. So, just trying to get some lesson learned from it. Ah, yes, UBA. I remember this from the early 2000s. We've been talking about it. The people that were anyone old net forensics customers? Remember them? They were a SIM before it was SIEM or SAME or whatever the hell it is. SIM, SIM. Anyway, UBA, they were starting to work on it that long ago. And again, you have all the headaches of logs. You've got to add context, not just server logs. You're also going to need application logs on some accounts. You're going to have to tune for service accounts, and your baselining is going to take a little bit longer than you think. I'm not saying not to do it. There's a big payback here, but if you think this is going to be a 10-minute thing, think again. Web app security, basics I see at the beginning. I don't see a lot of places getting too heavily into it, but if you're running web app scans, you've got to get it into the hands of the developers so they can digest it. You've got to understand what it is to get it to them, and usually you can implement with their tools like Jira, Jenkins, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're going to have to get people on staff that are more deeply into the coding, maybe even people that used to develop, in order to get the remediation to happen as the code's happening and getting scanned in iterations. And I don't see a lot of people accounting for that. What I see a lot of people doing, it's back to the good old days. Click! Here's the WAS scan. Here's the PDF. Fix this shit, please. What does this mean? I don't know. It's code bullshit. Fix it. Yeah, don't expect success with that. Cloud. CASB, the miracle tool. If you screw up your provisioning and deprovisioning, that's not necessarily going to help you. It might not even help you detect it because you're not going to have the time to look at it as much as you should. Key management can be challenging. Cloud's all about, especially with SaaS stuff, if your company's getting to a lot of SaaS, You're going to have to get into the contracts stuff. Start reading stuff on the Cloud Security Alliance's website. Read all of it. It's good stuff. Tailor it to your needs. Don't ever send somebody a document from there. You deserve a smack upside the head. You're going to have to count for forensics, like make them in the contract, give you their logs or to your portion of the cloud if you need it when you're troubleshooting something. The thing about encryption, if you want to be protected from blind subpoena, you got to have your own HSMs in-house and control the keys, but that also might limit functionality in some environments and not even be possible in a lot of SaaS ones. So again, dissolvable forensics, stuff that comes and goes as you're virtualizing in-house internal cloud, doing VDI and stuff. Have you ever thought about, okay, we're screwed, something happened over here, how do we investigate it? Think about that up front. Get the best answers you can. So, yeah, great. Data on more endpoints. BYOD, MDM ain't going to save you. You got to use it anyway. NAC, I've seen in educational environments, in some healthcare. Overall, in corporate environments, it's a really tough thing to pull off. It's a lot of work and a lot of damn money. So if you can get it and say, we know everything coming on our network because we have NAC on every little possible place there is, and then you get all your third parties wrapped up, it could be a nice world. I just have never really met many people that use NAC beyond. Universities are really good because they have thousands of students come in and they kick their shit off if it doesn't have XYZ on it. They're pretty good at that. It's a more forgiving environment. They're not causing a Sev 1 necessarily, right? Like in corporate environments. I come from corporate environments, so I speak mostly to those. So to me, it's just always been tough, but BYOD is just going to be a bitch. It's going to be more endpoints. Think of them as endpoints. Same as PCs. The nightmare continues. The nightmare expands exponentially. And some of the technologies we use on endpoints and some of the advanced ones aren't really catching up yet. APT, old. Goes back to 2000 when Microsoft had their source code stolen off a developer workstation from a fish 17 years ago. It's not really new. It's a new buzzword. Maybe new technology, basic same defenses. APT, I always hear people talking about threat intel, threat intel, threat intel, threat intel, threat intel. Just get on fucking Twitter. You'll hear about the newest threats and the newest proof of concepts being going on out there. Threat intel ain't worth shit if you can't consume the IOCs and alert on it in your environment or go hunting for it. So threat intel is only as good as you can make it actionable. No one ever talks about that with threat intel. They get all these feeds in, and they're doing all these things automatically in their tools, and they don't even check to make sure it's actually doing something and that it's actually doing actionable shit for them. You're still going to need people to track down when you get the stuff going. You're still going to need people, right? The usual egress data, easier said than done because of encryption. Decrypting everything in a large enterprise going out, even if you can do it legally, depending on where you're at, is kind of risky and very expensive. The ISACs, I like them. I think they're good. But a lot of the things you get from the federal government, if like an FBI list, oh, it's from the feds. It's day-old donuts, man. By the time they send that shit out there, you could have already got it off Twitter probably most of the time. IoT, I think it's neglected. I think we're all don't have time to deal with it. My only thing I've come up here is network segmentation again. We don't really always get the chance to do it optimally now, especially depending on vertical. Do your best and start making IoT segments so you can at least do something when bad shit starts happening because of these devices. They open all kinds of interesting things. I had one where there's desks. You know the stir desks? They stand, raise or lower. Can you imagine an entire store that has those desks and somebody starts making them raise and lower and DOS is a fucking store through their desks? That's part of our future. Right? That's just a teenage prank taking out a store and you're not selling at one of your biggest locations because the fucking desks are going up and down all day. This shit's all simplistic as hell, easy as hell to hack. So look at it when it comes in, scan the shit out of it, maybe look at it with some pen testing tools if you can, figure out what you can do to mitigate the best you can. All I've come up with so far is shit's going to update when it gets updated. They're always outdated on encryption. Make them turn off stuff they're doing in clear text and segment the shit. Start making IoT segments. Forensics, DFIR. Stands for Digital Forensics and Incident Response. Digital Forensics is the technical part, easier to source. People for some reason think they can source the IR. The IR is your company's ass. It is the process. It is getting with legal, getting with the business, making sure your response is good to the customers. Most companies end up having to own at least the IR part. A lot of them will take certain parts of the DR or the digital forensics in-house. How many people have tested their digital forensics tools not when they need it for an emergency. How many people, if they re-image their workstations or change their base images 4 times a year, make sure all their forensics tools still work with it? When you're rolling out new workstations every 3 years and you got new hardware, do you know how to grab the memory off it? You sure that shit still works? You don't want to wait to find out. Learn that one the hard way. How many people do tabletops? How about purple teaming for DFIR? How come we don't hear about that? I'm just using the catchword purple teaming. What it basically means is you put shit out there and say, here, this is infected. Tell me what it is. It's a test. See if they can find the shit that you put on it. Right? Test your processes. Infect something offline. Say, do the analysis. What's going on with this thing? I just put this in because it was a funny meme relative to this talk. We all have all these great plans and we still get our asses kicked. Right? General things in security tools. People forget to plan for refresh budgets. They don't account for what it takes to actually run the product, and they confuse tools with process. You know what the difference is between an install versus an implementation? Here's the deal. I'll take 2 people. Someone installs a tool. Do the old Windows like file, run, setup. They install it. They look at all the things. They play with it. They turn it on. I got the implementer. They've read the book. They've seen the movie. They actually read the goddamn documentation. They think about what they want to get out of it before they put the son of a bitch in place. They do a good test on it to make sure it's actually working right because they're implementing a solution. The tool is part of it. People, process, technology. You don't get to get over on that shit. And also, newsflash, no one's paying you to fucking have fun. It's called work, not play. So you're not paid just to play with cool tools all day long. Even pen testers think they are. They're really not. They're starting to catch on to that. You've heard that in other talks about, oh, we actually got to tell people how we do shit so they can get better. Yeah, because we're not paying anyone to have fun. It is called work. Although, it's fun to me, but I also don't like screw around on it like that. You got to pay the price with doing stuff like documentation, actually doing shit right and thinking about stuff before you do it. So, there you go. Installing, no real plan, wing it, or implement. What do we want to get out of this? How are we going to get maturity of this solution? How are we going to make this a service offering to the company? I've got sysadmins today, right now as we speak, running their own scans. I got them that much in self-service. They're being proactive. They're doing shit in my tools, which also now that they use my shit, I get my renewals easier because they like it. Helps them keep ahead of getting bitched at for not patching and stuff like that, right? The boring stuff. Processes. You got a security team. How many security teams have published their services and solutions catalog to the company? So they know what you do. We offer vulnerability management, certificate management through the entire life cycle. We do password vaulting for you. We got a PIM, but we also do team-level password vaulting for you. What services do you offer the company? Right? Eventually, you might actually get metrics to show that you're doing well on those services. But it's services. You're providing a service to the rest of the company. You're helping them get along good and do stuff and make money while responsibly mitigating risk in a cost-effective manner. That's really what security is. Has been since the 90s. People, process, technology. Can't get over on that. Just going to flip through these real fast. Look at all this shit. You can make a separate document. You can make a document with separate sections. Here's where I call bullshit on people. I don't have time to do all that. Really? You don't have time to screen print shit and write bullet points? Bullshit. You have time to document your shit. I know this because I've been documenting my shit for a couple damn decades now in multiple environments. Make it easy. Use a wiki. Bullet points and screenshots. That's all the kinds of shit people might want to know. Here's what I expect from people. The mold management one I talk about, right? If I get hit by a bus, I guarantee you my boss can pull in the SE from that company, hand them my doc set, and keep them in survival mode while they're looking for a new head count. That's the way it should be. If you don't have this done, you don't own the tool owns you. End of story. Not going to debate it. I've had to clean up after it. So, look up CMM on your own, capability maturity model. It gets really ugly and people make a big deal out of it. You can make it a little bit simpler, but we do need level of integration, automation, documentation, standardization, repeatability, operationalization, proceduralization. That's where it's at. It's all about getting the work done. The tools actually play some of the smallest part in all of this. I actually have an entire other talk on this topic, but people don't see it much because it doesn't get accepted much because it's boring as hell. But if you actually do it, it makes your life easier and you look better to your business. I know where all my tool sets are. Actually, I don't have tool sets. I have service offerings that coincidentally have tools as part of them, right? CMM 5, the impossible, perfection attained. But are you just doing stuff ad hoc? You're in a hurry. You ain't got time to do the shit. Doing more customization, adding some context, getting other teams involved and stuff. Now you're getting other teams involved. You're collecting metrics. You're doing shit really good. You have a well-defined processes and procedures. Now you're always tuning stuff. You're integrating stuff. You're integrating with teams like the GRC team to give risk reporting out of your tools, stuff like that. It's just, think about it in the context of any of the service offerings you have. Wrap the tools in a service offering. Take the service offering and wrap it into maturity. Takes a little bit of work. A little bit of vodka. A lot. Risk. Risk-based security. Something we need to move to. Bullshit. People have been giving talks on risk-based security since the fucking 90s. Don't believe me? Search the internet enough. You'll see it. It's out there. Started day one. Why are you chasing after shit that's not as likely to happen? Disaster recovery. How likely is it for a meteor to hit your data center? You going to put that in your plan? Why the fuck are you worrying about 0 days before all the shit you don't have patched yet then? Should be just as obvious if you use matrices like that. Right? Know your scope, purpose, assumptions, and dependencies when you go into projects. It'll help drive the risk-based decisions. Right? Probability versus possibility. And here's the one I will say, as much as I get good threat intel off Twitter, here's one thing I disagree with Twitter. Okay? The fucking world can't end every day. Every fucking month for the past 2 fucking years, the world's been ending on Twitter, according to the InfoSec. I don't know who the fuck they are because they're none of my peers. But all these people out there fucking tweeting their fucking asses off about how bad things are and how the fucking world's ending. It's not. Alright? Fucking calm down. Jesus Christ, man. I wasn't even that bad when I was in my fucking 20s. And I was bad. You think I'm fucking hyper now? This is me at 50. I didn't even like me in my fucking 30s. There's people that don't believe I'm 50. You're still 50. You got a lot of energy. Yeah, and fucking hatred too. Lots of it. By the way, I don't hate people specifically. I just hate the fucking world. That's why I'm in InfoSec. Speaking of hatred, compliance. I'm hoping the day comes when compliance changes that people leave our area and move into compliance over time so they actually know their shit and don't just run stuff off checklists. Security versus compliance. It's a pet peeve. I almost kind of get into the rant part of the talk, I think. The other thing people do. So when you're selling compliance, fear of non-compliance, that's still a fucking fear sell. That's all we got. That's all we've ever had. People aren't going to do shit unless they have to. You make the case through money. I don't like return on security investment, stuff like that. Just make the case through responsible. What is responsible in the eyes of the court? What will keep us from getting one less lawsuit against us? Due diligence. How much money do we have to spend to get there? Right? Compliance, non-compliance is one of the ways we sell. Most of our stuff is fear of non-compliance, fear of getting hacked. Almost everything we do is fear-based. Over time, people get sick of the shit when you remind them enough of it. So it's harder to sell that way over time. That's why I say start getting more to a risk-based where you're prioritizing and showing why you're spending money where. I'm spending money on wireless intrusion prevention because I have wireless all over my stores or whatever it is that you have, right? Show why. What do you think is going to be your downfall? Start there. That's where threat modeling comes in. That's a separate talk too. Kind of a boring one for a lot of people, but it's amazing how people don't do as much threat modeling. But overall, why people fail? Here you go. InfoSec is technical. Sorry. People are trying to say it's not. It really is. Even when you get into the less technical parts, you have to have a good technical background. You know, maybe we should scavenge from IT people. We can only steal so many people from there. Bottom line is, where I'm getting in now, I don't think people train their people enough. I don't think they ever have. And I don't think that's going to change. It's hard to get training budget the hardest. But you generally got people that are your generalists that do all kinds of shit with all the toolings and service offerings, offensive security people, and forensicators. That's kind of how I see the world. There's been some words thrown around with colors for different colored teams. Fuck that. I've never used that. It's offensive and defensive. This whole coloring of the teaming, I don't know who started it. It happened sometime in the last decade, near I can tell, because it wasn't like this in the early 2000s. I'd like to go back in time and beat the living fuck out of them. Just a personal thing. I think it's stupid. If you got to make your job sound cool, it's not cool. All right? So account for sending people to cons in your training. Different levels, different cons. I just pulled some pricing off the web for offensive training. So here's where it's going to get interesting. I remember taking Foundstone's first Hacking Exposed course in 2000, 2001. Because I went to my boss and said, you're having me defend. You'll love this one. I was the Intel platform security architect. So I'm not just defending shit nationwide for a big financial services company. I'm the one defending Windows. Yeah, fuck me. So I said, I need to learn how to hack to learn how to defend. There is a thing. Defensive people, corporate security blanks like myself, need to know offensive security and how to use the tools. Anybody remember Knoppix and Wapix, which were out before Backtrack? Very good. You should if you've been in there that long. If not, everyone here should know how to use Kali to an extent. I'm just a script kiddie. I'm not a hacker. I would never claim to be a hacker. But if your shit is left unpatched or configured real poorly, I can get in on it. I know how to do that. I keep that level of knowledge up. I just can't write my own shell code, right? So you can get offensive training, video-based training pretty decently. And now, we'll get to some a little bit of ranting. The biggest problem we have is not passing on knowledge. I'm going to take a trip through time. This is going to be kind of fast. Trojans, first one really to make publicity, 1989. Nothing new there. Late 90s, early 2000s, defense in depth zero game were first being discussed in corporate America security. Zero-sum game. If someone's really after you, they'll get you. The low and slow attack, now called APT, about like fucking 17 years later. Using admin tools as hacking, right? Forensicators go in and say, type a net view, and you can see how far the infection may spread. Sysadmins go type a net view to see what all you can see. Hackers would load tools and scan networks. Why don't you just do net view first if you got a Microsoft host at your disposal and see what you can see? It looks like legitimate traffic. Offenders using defenders tools, defenders using offenders tools. That was actually in the late 90s, early 2000s we've been doing that shit. SQLi, first documented, issue of Frack magazine. Jeff Forrestal, worked for Neil Hapsis in Chicago, 1998 issue of Frack. Still one of the leading causes of hacking. It's that old. Attack trees, precursor to threat modeling, 1999. I will post this stuff on my website with a big zip file because I'm a lazy ass with a lot of these references put inside a zip file that I downloaded off the web. Passwords. You guys all heard about the passwords recently? Length is better than complexity. Well, yeah, that's only like fucking 17 years old research, resurfacing again. The longer you stay in the industry, the more pissed off you'll get when you see all this shit in Twitter being talked about like it's brand new and it's this fucking old. APT, 2000, Microsoft had their source code stolen. Enough said. That's when it started. It's a 17-year-old problem, not in the last 6 years that your vendors are trying to sell you blinky lights for. Password randomization, first password randomization tool commercially available, Lieberman Software, 2002, because if you randomize your passwords on all your Windows boxes, they can't get one password and then get the rest because they crack one password. Oh, there's this new attack out called Pass the Hash. It's not new. It's a fucking optimization. People should be optimizing shit by now. Instead of cracking the password, you pass the fucking hash. It's an optimization. It's not new. Relax. Should have been randomizing your shit since fucking 2002. Right? Fuck. Stuff ain't new. Island hopping. Lateral movement. Lateral movement. Island hopping has been being discussed on seclist.org since fucking 2000. Lateral movement's not new. Trying to figure out how to find it in logs is not new. We've been doing this shit for 17 fucking years. Nothing's changing. Security zones are important. No shit. I had to actually put that no shit Sherlock here. You ever watch a fucking submarine movie? You know why they have waterproof compartments? So if you hit one, the whole sub don't sink? That's network segmentation in a nutshell. Fileless malware. Lenny Zelters has posted this one out. First appeared in writing in the early 2000s. Event logs. Randy Franklin Smith's been doing the event log thing forever and ever. Right? Knowing that you can do a crap ton of shit with Windows event logs. That's nothing new. Rainbow tables are old. You're hearing a lot of people since one of the recent attacks talk about patch management, patch management. Go look at this shit from @stake in 2004. There's a nice paper on patchmanagement.org. That's been out there since around 2006. Ain't hearing nothing new in the conversations that weren't discussed then. Printer fingerprints came up recently in this. Oh, I remember this girl got caught hacking Department of Defense. She took shit out and they traced her by the printer from the paper she stole. I'm like, damn, I know I remember a Network World article or PC World or something. So I Googled for it and found out. I remember reading that in 2004. Those fingerprints have been there since then. Long time. Ain't new. Not much is. NetFlow, 2004, Security Focus. Anyone remember Security Focus? That was cool. Published a lot of good shit up there. Okay, guess what? Products got it in there about, I don't know, 7, 8 fucking years later. People still aren't doing it. Social media. Black Hat, 2010. Getting in bed with Robin Sage. Nothing new. That's 7 years old. People are talking about, hey, you can get people through social media. No fucking shit. We used to use that to profile companies we're trying to hire into to see how bad their turnover was, to see if it was a shithole to work in or not. Right? Threat hunting. Richard Baitlick. The Towel security dude. That's over 6 years old. I ain't even gonna fucking explain this slide. Or this. 2005, we weren't ready for WannaCry. We'll never be ready for anything. Or this. Network segmentation's been the norm since the early 2000s. It's not new. This shit up here, this getting written in 2017, we've been needing to do that since the early 2000s. I've just shown you all the slides talking about that shit. There's more ancient history. And then, last but not least, conversations that get old. And the degrees and certifications, the user training. Should we be more like licensing tools? Like scalpels can't be made anywhere. They have to be licensed. That's why they're really expensive. Is defense in depth dead? No, it's not. Is IPS dead? No, it's not. Nothing's fucking dead. We need everything we possibly can use to defend ourselves. And, how to hack PCI through non-PCI systems. Does anyone attack shit through a strong point? It's kind of fucking obvious. Just kind of my old stuff. Compliance equaling security. We need to risk better than security. I'm not sure who the we is. IR is the new prevention. You guys hear that buzzword going around? Oh, IR is the new prevention. No, it's fucking not. It's just something that you need to do, and we've been needing to do forever. That's basically it. And then the other stuff that gets me mad. So it's kind of the ending on the ranty stuff. These conversations get old, and nothing's really changing even with people saying this stuff, right? Do you really need to be told that if you're using pattern-based defense, you're only going to defend against what you have a pattern for? Does it really even need to be said? Complexity makes for potential awareness of an attack. It also makes things harder to do. Automation reduces error. None of this stuff is stuff that you have to be told. Last but not least, I use this on senior leaders. I also use crayons instead of PowerPoints with them. But security is a journey, not a destination. Good for the higher-ups. But then you look at these other things. All this pontification, it's just lather, rinse, repeat. Just keep doing the shit over and over again until you get it right. And it's never ending, and you're not don't ever tell people, security's not anything you're ever going to attain. You're going to just keep responsibly mitigating risk in a cost-effective fashion. Say it with me, because then your business won't hate you, because they'll know you actually know what money means. You do with your own house. I have 2 cars. My wife drives one, I drive the other, right? Mine has the lower deductible, because she's a better driver than me. That's responsible risk mitigation. In fact, mine's half hers because I get hit fucking 5 times as often as she does. She's way better than me. She actually laughs her ass off at the way I drive, and even worse when I park. So I'm not going to spend all the money insuring her fucking car. I'm going to spend the money for the lower deductible, more money on my car. Take that shit to work. You know business. Congratulations. You guys know risk. Awesome. And that's about it. That's what I got. And like I said, hope you picked up some pointers. And if anyone's interested, I'll be hanging out a little bit. I actually made stickers like this. Some gray, some with a white background. If people want stickers, hit